Well, hello, hello, hello. This is Happy Valley Hobbies, and these are hobbies that make me happy. Thank you for watching. Uh, I was able to, for those who here were there last week, wound up going back to the lab for a short time. Um, now that I have some washers and some other things to hopefully help regauge the locomotive, we'll go that direction. Seems that the disk drive is running a little high because of, well, it's almost full. So the virtual disk is, well, the virtual memory is awful, constantly running and all that. So not quite sure what I'm going to eventually do with that, but I have been running. Trying to think of the name of the program now. What that? I am so sorry. Basically, go through and get rid of all the temporary files and all that fun stuff, and then after that, running disk defragmenter. And at first, I saw it, both programs, it's like one's is showing, oh, there's nothing to erase. It's like, what do you mean there's nothing to erase? There's the disk is almost full, but apparently that's how the way it is. So we'll get back to now that I got washers, we're going to see about regauging the locomotive. So let's switch over to cameras. All right. Well, hello there, Kyle. Thank you for coming in. As I said in the intro, I did have to come across washers. So not sure what size they are, because they were sort of like in the bottom of the drawer. And I also found out that the relatively local Fastenal store, since the pandemic, has changed into a, what do they call it now? I want to say like a online something online. So right now they're no longer an open store. They're just there to fill out online online orders now. And apparently the day I went, they had I was the second person for the entire day there. So it's now just literally a warehouse that fills out orders. And my assumption is that a lot of the orders that are filled online They double check, locally, and then it's like, oh, we don't have that here, so we'll go from the main warehouse and just email it, or not email it, but drop ship it directly. And how am I doing? Well, Kyle, I'll be honest, I have felt better. All right, put that there. I guess on the on the on the I want to say on the job hunting front, I went to a job fair a couple weeks ago, and I want to say I had like 3 nibbles, but one is possibly bitten. I've already went through a phone interview, which to me felt really quick and all that, so I sort of wrote it off because it was, in my opinion, a little bit too quick. But then I got an email that same day saying that, hey, I'll send you a link to the Zoom meeting, because I guess that's first is the phone interview, then there's a Zoom meeting, and then after that there's the on-site meeting. So it sounds more, it says shipping and receiving, but it sounds more like I want to lean towards like a mailroom thing, which, hey, job's a job. Oh, there, Dan. How you doing? All right. All right. Now for the fun part, trying to figure out exactly how much do I need. Zero that out. Let's try this way. I'm gonna have to get exact, at least close. All right. hopefully this comes out to be an even number of washers. Alright, that's that. See, this comes out hopefully to an even number of washers. If not, no, it comes out to 5. So put 4 on each one. For all 3 axles. Now I did pick up also tubing if the washers didn't work out. Unfortunately, this size tubing I got does not fit the 1/8 inch because it basically shows what the diameter of the tube is the outside diameter, not the inside diameter, or not the inside diameter. In my opinion, they should have inside and outside diameter on there. So, but oh well. All right, now I guess we'll grab the wheel puller, pull the wheels. Okay, wheels. Well, one wheel is pulled. Oh, washers, there's like 2 sides on. There's like a nice one's a nice I want to say nice side and a flat side. And I want to say the challenge is trying to find where that size is. Now, what am I doing to assemble this? Where's the little vise I was using? Of course, I put something away. That's true, Dan. And yeah, it's so much easier to find work when you're employed, which is annoyingly frustrating for the people who are unemployed. That's why I went with the job with Jalope. You know, more of a, hey, I'm still working. Not what I want to work in, but let that wind up falling like a lead balloon. All right, this is not an idea, but will it work? Alright, this will work. Just gotta adjust this properly. Of course, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm not quite sure how well this is gonna work. Alright, so this needs to go straight up and down. This is getting quartered. Let's see. Quartered this way. And this might not work out because the jaws are not square. Yeah, the jaws are not square on this, so this might not work. Let's see about this getting quartered properly again. We're close to getting it, at least close to it. All right, there we go. Not perfect, but the idea is to try to get that as flush as possible. Now this got moved in too far, so we'll readjust that. Okay, so we got that there. I have to twist this just to... All right, let's see how this does with the washers on now. Of course, trying to separate the washers so they're on opposite sides of the axle. Okay, it looks like I measured that wrong because there's plenty of room for more washers. I'm probably maybe even get one more set in there. Sounds like these, the locomotive cradle would be nice. Oh, hello there, Randall. Thank you for coming in. So what's the wheel puller do exactly? Well, what it does, it makes it so you can pull the wheel off the axle. This little pin right here, I probably won't be able to show you too well, but that pin would go where the axle is and then push onto the axle while this right here holds the wheel in place and pulls the wheel off the axle. Because a lot of times the axles are press fit, where you got a press, which I misplaced what I was using for a press, which was a very small vise. I think I might have found it. Yeah, there it is. What I do with the vise is, the axle's on the one end, and then using the other end to sort of press the wheel on. You can, I want to say, practically use almost anything for a press, but a puller, because the way it's designed, you can't really use. It's very hard to use something as a puller. If I had a arbor press, not only could I press things in, but it's also designed so you can press things back out. Oh yeah, I almost can put another another 8 on there. So I'll show you how I basically pull on this. Basically where the brass axle is, come in and put this right here. Now the thing is that puller should this has two. You got this thinner one, this thicker one. The thicker one seems to be slightly, I'm not sure what happened, but it's no longer centered. So it's so instead of going straight in, it's sort of wobbly. So that's why I'm not using that one. But with the thinner one, you have to be a little bit more careful, because that bends easier. And basically you're just taking it and just slowly pulling it around until it pops off the axle, or the wheel, or the axle pops off the wheel. All right, let's try more washers. Unfortunately, trying to measure it with the calipers does not work because there's just not enough room there. Right, so let's put that there. And let's see how. I would say, or as Northwest Shortline says, the puller. It's a good accessory to have. Now let's see. Let's try it this way. So, all right, we'll go that direction. All right. So we'll line this up this way again. forward. But fortunately, all this pulling and pushing is probably wearing out the axle a little bit. I'm going to press it back on. Yeah, this is better than the other direction because this has everything is flat. You can maneuver everything, so and basically just the same thing in reverse. Press it until it's fully on there. This one moved out a little bit again, so we'll push that in until it's flush. All right, now let's see what happens. Okay, now it looks like it went too far. Now let's remove two. Yeah, this is starting to get really it's coming off the axle really easy, so I might have to turn around and make a new axle that's not worn out. Well, hello there, Steel Mill Modeling. Did you enjoy your rabbit hole of finding out about 6-foot gauge? All right, that looks like it might be okay. We'll return on that. Now let's see how well 3 does. All right, that'll work. So there's 3 washers a piece, so we'll do that way. And we're gonna need another 6 in this direction. 4. Another 2. Yeah, the thing is, These are the correct washers, but they were in a unmarked bin, so I don't know what size they are. So next trip to the hardware store, I got to find out exactly what they are. They're possibly number 6 or number 4. Unfortunately, when you get down to washers, it goes by inches until 1/4 inch, and then after that it goes to gauges, and that sort of throws everything off. All right, now these are the easy ones, because all you're doing is taking off one wheel. But the center one, because of the gear, we're going to have to be a little bit more, basically taking the gear off of each side. All right, again, putting the axle in the center. Yes, it's the Micro Mart. It's called the puller or wheel puller. It's one of the things you sort of kind of have to have when you're regauging equipment, especially on steam engines. I think you might be able to get away with no, I think you still have to use it for other equipment also. Now, one of the things of all washers have like what I want to call a smooth side and then a flat side. It's part of the process and how they're put together. And I'm trying to put the smooth side of the washer towards the moving parts. That's just me. I'm not sure if it'll make it better or worse. I don't know. But that's what I'm going with. All right. Straight up and down. And forward. Okay, that over there. Since where the axles are raised, trying to not hit those. And probably gonna have to find a better way to press the wheels back on. This is a very, very, very cheap right, that fits that way. That fits that way. Now, the one that's going to be a slight challenge because I got to pull both wheels off. Only put 3 on each side. All right, so surfaces of the washers help with grip. Yes, Uh, yeah, the thing is that since I want the sides more as a bearing, that's why I'm putting them on the outside. You basically want, with a washer, you want one side to grip and the other side to slide. So, and since we got three, doesn't matter what the center does. All right. Well, steel mill, I would have to say the original, my OG scale is actually 027. Basically, my parents had bought me. There is, well, there. I'm not sure if the picture's still in existence, but it was a picture of me showing locomotive. Yeah, it was a train set, which I still have. Back when I was about knee high to a grasshopper. And shows me jumping, going like, "Ooh, this is a fun thing," and all that. And I guess technically that was the first part. I guess, or at least that had me having the concept of model trains. Every year it was, the train set was brought out every Christmas, and that was the only time it was really ran. It wasn't until my father used to do, well, he called it junking. Basically going through the alleyways. He was a child of the Great Depression, so it was one of those things of always looking for stuff and all that. And I think I was around 10-ish when he found an HO scale set, which I have most of the stuff from it. And since it was then, since that was, the 027 stuff was, I want to say it's something that he liked. I want to say at first he wanted to play with them, but then as I became older, it was then something for him to watch me play with. And yeah, that's not a very healthy press fit, but we'll go with it. Right now I'm just trying to get this thing operational, working decently. Once I get the engine itself working properly, then I'm going to have to figure out what to do with the tender. I am leaning towards using LaBelle trucks. Yeah, like most people in the hobby, I want to say, yeah. Well, I would have to say, my father. When it came to my father, it was more of turning around and disassembling it into its components. Basically, he would turn around and, especially if it didn't work, he would come across like a broken fan. He'll turn around, take the motor off, and then strip the motor of its copper, iron, and all that stuff, and then turn everything into parts, and then bring it down to the junkyard and get money for said material. Uh, he rarely he he would rarely fix stuff, but every now and then he did. In fact, I think I still have a couple of fans that he wound up. Well, he wound up fixing, and then I turned around and I tore them completely apart, and then fixed them my way. All right, let's see. Let's forward. I'm making sure everything is in the correct orientation. This might be a little bit trickier because of trying to get the washers in the right spot. Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, I think I've already mentioned this last week, but sort of almost had the locomotive almost had its first public display. There it goes. And last but not least, and there we go that way. All right, let's put this back together. Done correctly, I might be able to test run this thing before the end. Yeah. I've known people to do that. We had a next door neighbor. To this day, I'm not quite sure how he did it, but there was wait. Whoa. That was not looking right because all the washers are on one side. We need half the washers on the other side. There we go. That's going to look better. Yeah, there was one time he wound up fixing a lawnmower, And he had parts left over, but it still ran. It was sort of disconcerting. But if you know what parts to leave off, I guess it's not as harrowing as it originally sounded. Now the thing is that there's a possibility that these are not quartered properly, so they may or may not work. Yeah, the front one looks like it's way off, but let's throw everything together and make adjustments when needed. All right, got that there, that there. I believe since this is the first or the fifth Saturday, I believe it's DB Tech for the Sidetrack Sunday. All right, that's together, that's together. I'm just going to adjust a little bit so pop into the shoulder. There we go. Now for the fun part. Wait a second, we need that there. Grab the long one. Yep. Thank you, Kyle. Honestly, I'm not really into E&D. I'm more Alco guy because I grew up near Schenectady, which was the headquarters. I think I had a great uncle that, well, they lived in Schenectady. I think they worked for General Electric. There is a story on how they got to Schenectady, or General Electric got to Schenectady. And it was I don't want to say courtesy of American Locomotive, or technically at the time it was Schenectady Locomotive Works. But what had happened was one of the chief designers of Schenectady Locomotive Works had a falling out with Schenectady Locomotive Works, but a lot of the investors in Schenectady realized that, hey, we can't have this guy leave. His name was McQueen. So they turned around and offered to build him his own railroad shop. And he turned around. They got everything to the point where it was. They built the build. They mostly built the buildings. From what I understand, they had the shells of the building, or at least the walls. And then what had happened is that I think it was John Ellis who was in charge of American Locomotive, happened to realize that Schenectady was not a big enough town for 2 locomotive manufacturers. So they did his best to, entice him back into the fold, and he begrudgingly did. So the buildings that were built for McQueen sat empty for about a decade. And then somebody who was a friend of the Ellises in Schenectady heard about the challenge that Thomas Edison had in New Jersey and said, "Hey, there's a building here that you might be a very large building you might be interested in." And turned around, and Edison came up on the train, took one look at the place and all that, and said, "Sure, why not? Just don't, whatever you do, just don't hire any geniuses. Hire dumb people to build the stuff, not that constantly argue, hey, it could be done better." And that's how they got to Schenectady. Basically for, dumb labor, basically. All right. Well, I'm going to have to find out a way to recorder these, because as you can see, these are not quartered at all. But maybe that'll be for next week, or maybe I'll find something in the meantime. So let me clean up just a little bit and switch cameras. All right. Okay, everything over there. Now, I have taken out a. Well, was also a good. It's one of those things of with. It seems that with every industry you wind up with very few, not that much competition with everything. And the only thing that went with, all right, switch cameras. Of course, it pegs to 100 again. There we are. Okay. Yeah, it seems that a lot of industries, eventually there's like there's 2 or 3, maybe 4 major players and all that, and then everybody else is, like 10% of the market and all that, and then the 90% is cut up between very large ones. What is it now? It's like the world car makers. I remember seeing it. I forgot what it was, but I want to say throughout the entire world, not just the United States, but throughout the entire world, there's like only 15 car maker brands. And then all the like GM, you have Chevy, General Motors, well, you used to have Pontiac, and basically. All right, that makes sense, Kyle. The yeah, it's like when that's sort of how I. Let's see. Well, the thing is, once I got into locomotive manufacturers and happened to realize that I lived that not that far from it, that's when it sort of. No, actually, wait a minute. That went more the Delaware Hudson route. Since I was, I'm from Watervliet, New York, which the Delaware Hudson ran through. When I was in this advanced training for advanced training for when I was in the Army. I happened to come across Jim Chauncey's book on the Delaware Hudson, and the funny thing about it is that it's like they're all obviously when you're around an area, you're fans of what the local railroads are, and the thing is that Delaware Hudson, that's on the East Coast, that's not in Colorado. So this book, which I still have, although I don't use it that much because I bought other copies to sort of be able to ruin them and not ruin the original copy that I had. It was made me a little bit homesick and all that. There was a couple of pictures of the well, technically it's not in Watervliet, but there was the Watervliet engine shops, which was just over the border from the city of Watervliet. And maybe it's slightly homesick, and that's how I fell in love with that. And since Alco was literally one of Delaware Hudson's customers, they've always went with Schenectady Locomotives or Dixon, because another online customer, and that Dixon and Schenectady Locomotives, they wound up being part of the Locomotive Trust that eventually became American Locomotive Company, which I just I don't want to say. I don't want to say the. Recently found out. I think it's been almost maybe a year now that I found out that American Locomotive actually had an official race car between, I think it was 1905 and 1912. American Locomotive Works actually built automobiles, but the thing is that they built the cars like they did locomotives, and it was every car they sold they lost money on, even though it was the most expensive car to buy in the United States. They actually put in there's a couple of videos of that car on YouTube, and the thing is that one of the things, I can't do it right now, but one of the things I am considering is building a cycle cart version of it. I do have an acquaintance that's trying to get me into cycle carts and all that, and for a while there, I'm like, it's like, don't really. Then when I found out that I think it's called the Pepe Nior, which translates into the Black Beast. I want to see about doing, the Pepe Petite or Little Monster, because there's things that with cycle carts, if you're modeling something to a smaller scale, there's things that you can't scale, like me. Because originally it's a 2-seater, so if I build this little cycle cart version, it will be a single-seater. Plus, not only that, your feet are where the engine was originally. So it's usually the cycle carts usually have their rear engine carts, and there's a whole thing on these cycle carts and all that. So that's if I do get into that hobby, that's what I'll have to, that's what I'll be doing. I'll be doing the Alco's race car. And the thing is that I'm willing to bet I'm probably the only one to do that. Yeah, I would have to say the thing I don't like, not too happy with the Delaware and Hudson, is that they pretty much scrapped all their locomotives in 1953. They were all the only one that I think that wound up being surviving is a replica of the Strasbourg Lion, which I think is in the Smithsonian, I believe. Of course, another interesting thing would be interesting, which unfortunately railroads were not. It was an era where railroad preservation wasn't in at this time, but nothing of the broad gauge Albany and Susquehanna was never saved either. And I don't. I want to say I don't think any broad gauge locomotives wound up being preserved. Steve, look at it. Well, let's see. The American Coal Enterprises tried that in I want to say the late 80s, I think, earlier late 80s. But I would have to say there's a lot of things that historically are romanticized, and like steam engines. I could watch a steam engine for hours, but I also know they're not as efficient as a diesel. And steam engines are nice to look at, but for the economics, not so much. Same thing with streetcars. I mean, I'd like streetcars also, but I also I want to say, at least in the United States, and maybe even Canada, it's probably not a smart thing to do, because streetcars have been obliterated so much to the point no one knows how to drive with a rail vehicle in the road. It's like they assume, oh, it's on the road, it can steer. And so I look at it this way: streetcars, as cool and the important history that they have, rail equipment should not be on the streets. But not because of the rails, it's because of all the other traffic. And I think I almost want to say, I think there's some YouTube channels that are just with streetcar crashes. But yes, the Ace 3000. Yeah, it was. If I remember correctly, it was the time of the oil crisis, and they're trying to bring back using coal because it was cheaper. Yes, pretty much. Any street with street trams, there's carnage anywhere, because people don't know how to, people don't understand how streetcars work, or any rail vehicle, because there's a lot of times it's like there's also every now and then they get a YouTube video. It's like train crashes and all that, and you see some of them are general accidents. It's like you get tractor trailer truck stuck on, it's too low, it gets stuck. And I've heard of hydrogen power locomotives, but I would have to say, unfortunately, I used to work for a fuel cell company that used hydrogen. The thing is, right now, how they get hydrogen, if I remember correctly, is how they get hydrogen is through electrolysis, which you wind up actually, they don't tell you how how they make the hydrogen, which is actually it actually winds up costing more to make than the quote fuel savings. But there's still, a lot of them are still pushing it, and one thing that I would have to say would be interesting is bringing back trolley buses, and I think San Francisco, if I remember correctly, has all the public transit. They have the cable cars. They got the electric streetcars. They have trolley buses. They have normal buses. You name it. Apparently, San Francisco has it all. Liquid hydrogen and liquid. Hydrogen is usually pressurized. That's one of the, in my opinion, one of the major problems is that hydrogen, the way it has to be transported, it has to be under massive amounts of pressure. Liquid nitrogen has to be freezingly cold. So it's one of those things of, here's all the benefits. It's like, but hey, wait a minute. There's compromises you have to make that they don't talk about because they don't want you, no, don't look at the bad stuff. But unfortunately, that's how this country works. It's all about the positives and not, there's, don't look at all the bad stuff and all that. It's, oh well. Well, I guess it's time for me to wander off, and everyone could go to I saw, with solar cells, I think they've gotten it up to 20. I could be wrong, but the reason why they're cost effective is that you just lay them out in the sun. There's, you're literally just laying them out in the sun, and it's producing power. It's not, and that 50% is also during, high noon and no weather. But free power is free power, and that's why it's effective. I know somebody that they wound up powering their house back in the 90s, and they haven't really. All right, Kyle, see you later. Yeah, I probably should be wandering off and seeing everyone over at DB Tech, who's doing Sidetrack Sunday tonight. And I guess we'll go from there. So, all right, everybody. I think the world needs more love. So find your passion, add some silliness to it, and spread it around. Bye.